What are you doing?
I'm reversing the polarity of the ultrasonic screwdriver's power source.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
I just reversed the polarity.
Welcome to the Fan and the Fool. I'm the fan, Matt Antonelli.
I'm the fool, Alex Cameron.
Hello, Alex Cameron.
Hello, Matt Antonelli. We're back again, boys.
Now, I've just realised
Yes, sir.
the PlayStation's still on downstairs with the DVD inside it, and it's still frozen. So,
Oh, boy.
it doesn't matter.
Never trust. I know that you went on and on about how good Brisbane City Council Library is. Never trust it again. What are you pointing at? It's the DVD.
It's a different DVD.
Yeah, but does that one work even?
Hang on, let me check the scratchiness of it.
Oh, jeez.
I have to unlock it.
This is also how you treat library products.
Oh yeah, someone's definitely used that as a frisbee.
Yeah.
Okay, so the DVD that... So, for people who listened to the previous episode...
Oh, jeez.
Which was about the Sensorites. Was that still last time?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
So the Sensorites... We went... Yeah, that was the Sensorites?
I think you're right.
It was two 3-episode ones.
Yeah, Sensorites.
And we thought that was going to be the last one because we didn't have this one.
Mm-hmm.
This one being...
Lost footage.
Reign of Terror.
Partially, yes.
Reign of Terror.
And therefore wasn't on BritBox.
Yeah, so it wasn't on BritBox. I actually had the title right there, I had to think. The Reign of Terror. So...
Final story arc in season 1.
Correct. So it wasn't on BritBox for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And also this DVD here has parts of the one we couldn't watch before, Marco Polo. It's got like an audio bit on it.
Oh, okay.
We don't have any video of that. So
the one that was reportedly William Hartnell's favourite storyline.
Was it?
Yeah, I saw it in the
It's
trivia.
Okay.
So imagine that. The one that he loves the most is the one that there's nothing of anymore. Gone.
It's good, isn't it?
On your BBC.
But we know what the Doctor's favourite period of time is now, though.
We do.
Yeah. So anyway, DVD went in. We watched this one together.
Got some lovely lunch. Yeah, this was going to be the first one we'd watch together. It's going to be a nice, lovely time, a bit of lunch.
I got burrito.
I got some Subway. Eat fresh.
And we sat down and went in. First, 10 minutes was probably fine. The first 10 minutes.
Felt nice.
It's good. And then it, froze on, Ian and Barbara's face. I think you took a photo of it.
It changed over before we got a chance.
Oh.
It was in the middle of episode 3.
Oh, yeah. It just kind of jumped from the start of episode 1 to the middle of episode 3. So it was good. And then it just stopped playing. Well, I was trying to go back and then it stopped playing. But I just want you to imagine a thing.
Tell me.
Okay? A place that I probably should have thought of before I went to Brisbane City Council. No offence, Brisbane City Council libraries, you do a
No,
good
they
job.
should feel offended.
But imagine a place where there's just a whole bunch of videos on the internet.
What?
And you can click on them.
In 1963?
No, in 2021.
Oh, yes.
And you can click on them. Ooh. And you can cast, some kind of casting thing. You could put it on your TV. And you could just watch most videos that exist in the world on that platform.
Can I guess the website?
I think we should start that platform.
Daily Motion?
I think it was on Daily Motion, but we did watch it on YouTube.
It was on YouTube after all this time. And getting frustrated with the DVD and thinking, we're not going to be able to watch this now.
Yeah.
And it was just on YouTube. Well, we found it on Daily Motion, and Matthew was not impressed.
Well, because I want a Chromecast. I got the YouTube app, just click. Took 2 seconds. It took me a second to find it once we realised that it was probably on the internet.
Yes. But the good thing is, if you don't have BritBox, you can watch this storyline. It's all on YouTube.
And there's other stories there too, by the way.
Ooh.
It's going to be really disappointing if I turned out we could just watch all of this on YouTube instead of BritBox.
It won't, and I'll tell you why.
What?
Well, unless the BBC decided to put it up there, which they wouldn't.
No.
Because I've had to re-upload one of our recent episodes twice because there was maybe 5 seconds too much footage with no audio, and it got copyright claimed.
Do we get a strike against our name?
No. It just said take this down, so I did. I cut it slightly, still too much, cut it slightly, let it up there. No audio, just the visual of
What?
maybe 20 seconds. You know what it was? It was...
Was it Ian's face frozen in that weird? You know that bit where it's like weirdly edited and it's like, yes.
No. You want to know what it was?
But
The Doctor and the Hot Old Woman.
oh, good.
Because I showed 3 sections of it. One of them was maybe a minute long, and I think if it's 30 seconds or under, they don't care.
I just like to point out something.
Go on.
Technically,
she was too hot for YouTube.
Technically, although I suppose that video doesn't have it in it, technically we can have bits and pieces, not the whole thing,
Right.
but for the purposes of review, you can.
Absolutely. There was no audio. It's not like we're playing the episode.
But I think that video wouldn't have had us being like, this episode, 10 stars or something. You know what I mean?
True.
So it didn't have a review, it just had us making fun of Dr. Flintlock.
Maybe they're like, well, we can put a copyright claim on it, but they can't anymore. So she was too hot for YouTube. You thought Doctor Who thought she was too hot. In 2021, billions of people on this website were like, whoa.
I'd like to, just before we move on to today's episode,
Yes, Queen.
I was listening to the snippets that you make, because they just show up on my Facebook.
The
sometimes.
highlights.
And one of them was like, what's a roundel? And like all making fun of me about roundels. Just like to show you this.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's wow, this is a fun day today. It's a Wikipedia article called Roundel. Okay, I honestly thought it was a Doctor Who term, but it's not. A roundel is a circular disc used as a symbol.
There you go.
You made it sound like it was a Doctor Who thing. Did you think it was a Doctor Who thing?
I didn't. I first heard it on Doctor Who, but I thought it must have been just a Doctor Who thing.
Well, I've never heard it being used anywhere, but I guess we don't study shapes.
I'm a maths teacher. I teach shapes.
So you should have known.
I'll call it a roundel to the kids tomorrow and see what happens. Kids, measure the circumference of this roundel. I've got
a thing for me to guess?
a thing for you to guess, but I've also got something else.
I'm going to guess it's a bag. Is it this?
Oh yeah, it's a bag.
Oh, it is this.
Yeah.
Can I look at it?
Yeah, you can flip it over.
I'm guessing it's a Doctor Who thing.
Yeah, it is a Doctor Who
But
thing.
did someone make this for you?
I bought it at Supernova. Yeah, Supernova, the big
Convention?
convention. Yeah.
Cool. It is like a strap bag, and it has like picture on the front of the TARDIS and like some swirlies.
Some swirlies. Yeah.
Is that like the shape it makes when it's taking off, or is it just a nice pattern?
It's just a nice pattern.
Okay. Well, it looks lovely. It's very delightful.
Would you want to take a guess what's happening to the TARDIS there? Maybe you could describe that.
Ooh, it looks like it's breaking apart.
Yes.
Oh, so this is from a specific thing that happens in the show.
Yeah. So is it a Doctor Who thing?
Yes, it's a Doctor
Yeah,
Who
it is.
thing. The fact that I recognise the TARDIS, and there'll be pictures on social media if you're interested.
Yes. Hang on a sec. Alright, so you're successful then.
Very. Oh, you mean about this? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay. I wanted to try a new segment out on you.
Oh. Matthew Antonelli.
It'll be few and far between.
Oh!
Oh, I almost tipped over my whole coffee. It'll be few and far between.
I'm scared
But
now.
before we talk about the story, it's a segment I call Guess Which Cast Member is on Holidays This Week.
Oh, this is cool.
So,
Are you talking about this one that we just watched?
this one that we just watched.
Well, I can guess. It's easy. Well, maybe not, but I think it's Susan.
Incorrect.
She's in jail for a lot of it,
Yeah, she is.
and we don't see her. Who else then? Give me a second. Guess which cast member? I feel like they were all really involved in the show. Barbara?
No. Would you like me to put... She's already been on holidays, remember? She was in a spaceship during the Censorites.
Treat yourself. She might have gone for another one. Ian then.
Ian.
But
So, he was in every episode.
okay.
There's 2 episodes where they... Spoiler alert. They're in prison. And he's in a different cell.
Fair. Yes.
So he actually those are pre-recorded. They're recorded earlier.
Are they like the
than
ones where
theirs.
he's like looking out at them and he's like, Barbara and Susan, no?
Yes.
Okay.
And also where he's with, is it Webster?
Oh,
And
the
he's like-
guy who
yeah,
dies early on, spoiler
Oh,
alert.
yeah, spoiler alert.
I mean, we are going to give the entire
Also,
plot
it's
away.
from the 60s, so...
And also, there's no way to watch it almost anyway until 2013, so got him.
So I've got the setting here. So would you like me to... Let's do a thing. Let's start?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us where we're up to?
What?
So, the end of the Sensorites?
Yes, the doctor thinks he's going to be able to get them back home.
Yes, but why does he want to take them home?
He's very angry at them and he's sick of them now.
Yes.
It ended
Just suddenly.
Well, we discussed it last week. He seemed really angry for no reason.
Yes.
He makes a joke about the fact that the TARDIS is not very accurate. Ian says almost the same thing, and he got his back up about it, Doctor Who, and said, I'm taking you back to Earth now, young Sonny Jim.
Now, to be fair, they do get back to Earth.
He got them there, and he explains within the 800-mile...
Yeah, so he's like, there was a lot of distance to cover. I didn't get you to England, but I got you to France.
And he's mostly right.
But did he get them to 1963?
No.
He got them to 1794.
Which is actually known as the Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
That's not just the name of the episode. That's what that part of history is called.
Yes. No, I knew that.
Okay, you just looked at me with a look of like, oh, teach me.
No, I was waiting for you to tell me more, though.
It's leading to the French Revolution.
Thank you.
Which apparently, as you said earlier, is the Doctor's favourite time in history.
The Doctor says it.
How weird's that? No,
No, Susan says it.
So it's a good idea to change into these clothes. We won't look so conspicuous when we go back to the ship.
We might not get back to the ship if Grandfather hears we're in the Reign of Terror.
Why not?
It's his favourite period in the history of Earth.
But that makes sense if you think about a certain modern Doctor.
Okay, that you're answering a question I had for you. Can you guess what the question is?
Yep.
Guess.
Did you just
say
is it still the Doctor's favourite period?
Well, is it all of them, or is it this iteration of the Doctor?
Well, it might change from Doctor to Doctor, but I know the 10th Doctor likes French terms.
Oh, okay. See, I'm still... Because I have yet to see someone change...
You're still like, this is the Doctor.
This is the Doctor. So I don't know how much changes in terms of what they like, their personality, or if it's just really just a look, you know?
Well, let's see how many you got, what's that? 8... 16... You've got about 18 stories of this Doctor left. But there are some missing that we won't be able to watch.
I was going to say, that seems like a lot for how much is in red there.
Yeah, so Season 3, which we won't get to for a little while, Season 3 has a lot of episodes missing.
Okay.
So there's some that have been partially done. In fact, this one, Galaxy 4, is like being re-released soon, I'm pretty sure. Or it might already have been this year. But some of them... They do that thing like we see in this story where they animate some episodes. So they still have the audio and they animate it.
By the looks of that, we're at about episode 9 or 10 of the podcast. So by about maybe episode 20 is where we're going to get to the end of this Doctor, I'm assuming, it seems like.
Yeah, but we did... yeah.
Ish.
So
I've still got a fair bit to go with them.
And... You also have to think, like,
try to.
This is the team, right, at the moment. But the Doctor isn't always travelling with the same people. So, it makes you think, when do the others... Because I know the last story for all of those, for those three characters.
Well, I'm going to make some guesses.
Yep.
I've already said I don't think Susan is really his granddaughter. I think I said previously, because of a weird conversation between the Doctor and Barbara. I was going to say Doctor and the Barbara.
Oh, the Barbara.
That I reckon she dies in their travels.
Oh.
You don't remember that? You made some weird dark comment when I said something about Barbara one time and I was like, oh jeez.
Yeah.
Because I know Ian comes back, because I know, and we've talked about the fact that as an older person, he's still involved-ish.
Yeah, he does audio podcasts, audio stories now.
Whereas I don't know what happens with Barbara, but I feel like at some point something tragic happens with her.
Oh.
Maybe I'm wrong. I get that sense.
Yeah, I can't really tell you.
You can't tell me.
I can't tell you, but...
I know
but
right
yeah,
about the Susan thing.
And you're right about the Ian thing. Like, he's still alive in 2021.
It's pretty
The
cool.
actor is still alive.
Well, I assume.
Well, yeah.
If he's acting
obviously.
in the show.
And the actress who plays Susan, yeah.
I assume William Hartnell is not, because he's already, like, pretty
Yeah.
old.
I'll talk about what their post Doctor Who careers in the last episode that they're in.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I've already thought about what to say about each of them.
Ooh.
But
We better get cracking with this story. This is a long 6-episode story.
So they land in 18th century France.
Yep.
And the doctor's like, get out, I can't come with you, I'm flying out of here. And Ian and Barbara do a bit of a, oh, come on, Doctor, don't you want to see things? And, you know, we're all angry with each other, shouldn't we leave on better terms? And all that kind of jazz.
But the real reason they're doing it is because if they're not in the right place, they don't want to be stuck.
Yeah. Can you imagine that if he'd just flown off and just left 2 people from the 21st century?
In the middle of the French Revolution.
20th century?
In France.
In France. So that would have been good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But, you know, before he also just wanted to leave them in the prehistoric era, so who cares?
And as we'll get to, this Doctor is savage. You thought he was savage before.
Oh, man. Yeah, he really turns it up to 11.
If you thought in the prehistoric era he was violent, wait till we discuss what he does.
But also, not as weak and feeble. Likes a bit of a walk, you know?
Yeah, they made this big thing earlier that I need you in, I'm so weak and feeble. Now he's walking around the entire country of France, involved in manual labour, and attacking people over the back of the head.
And craftily hiding coins under dirt. I say, so they do hear like a gunshot of some kind.
Yep.
Or like a twig snap or something. And because they're outside the TARDIS. So the Doctor has gone with them outside to make sure that, you know, they get home safely.
Yep.
And it turns out to be just a boy that they catch.
Well, Ian catches him.
Yeah.
I think the Doctor says, oh, it's a bunny rabbit, and then you hear a kerfuffle, and Barbara's like, that doesn't sound right. And then all of a sudden Ian is dragging like this poor boy. And I mean poor literally, like he looks like a starving boy.
Yeah.
We are against violence against children.
Fun trivia fact.
Yeah.
First child actor in the show.
Are you sure?
Yeah, well, that's what the trivia says.
There was no children in the prehistoric era? I thought there was like kids there.
I don't think they had kids.
I mean, you're not counting Susan then, I guess.
No.
Because she would have been a teenager?
I think she's playing a teenager. I don't think the actress was a teenager.
That makes sense. Oh, well, I'm going to trust the trivia. First child actor, very good, Doctor Who. I can't believe that. I swear we saw them earlier, but I guess not.
So, the boy is like, tells them they're in France, and this is the part where the Doctor's like, oh, I'm just 100 miles off or whatever.
It's within the 800 mile, margin of error. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, man. Learn how to fly your box. So, he'll get there. The other thing that I noticed, you know what? I'll bring it up in trivia. It's about the TARDIS landing, but I'll bring it up because it is.
Save it for trivia.
It is in trivia. Good. We need to have some trivia,
and we need to start getting through this insane plot.
Yeah. Okay. So they find a farmhouse, and they manage to get inside because it's not.
But wait, you skipped it. What's the other thing they find out? They are in France, but
it's also not the right year.
Yeah. You're like halfway through that sentence before you trailed off.
Okay.
Because you were talking about the margin of error, and the Doctor's like, oh, it's not a big deal.
I don't think they find out the year until they find the clothes.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Proceed.
So they get inside the farmhouse.
Yeah.
And they're just looking around because they're like, oh, this place has been like abandoned, but there's also like a really fancy looking candlestick in there.
Yeah, Ian loves it.
So they're like, oh, what's this? And blah, blah, blah.
Ooh.
Susan and Barbara find a stash of clothes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Barbara goes, oh, these look like they're from the 18th century, because she's a history teacher.
Yeah.
And Ian's like, what's this rich thing doing here? It looks like it's been deserted, and there's like notes and stuff. And they deduce together that it's some sort of dropping off point for, like, I guess, supplies or like a hideout or something.
Because they find some sort of pass or something, like a ticket or something.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing about some of these episodes is I've written down like the plot outline. So if you ever want to write a classic episode of Doctor Who, this is the plot outline you go with. You ready?
I'm ready.
1, get stuck.
Yes.
2, find clothes.
Yes.
3, put those clothes on.
But yes. And can I just say, there's nothing between points 2 and 3. There's no reason to put the clothes on, but they love dress up. They just start putting them on.
Because even if you think back to the Aztecs one, Barbara is in that tomb, finds a bracelet, puts bracelet on.
It's like a robot
There you go.
going, oh, clothes, I know what those are for. Shonk. Put them straight on.
And they keep those clothes for this whole story.
I swear, they're finding excuses to wear costumes. It's like a fun costume party.
Look, I could understand why you like, oh, we should blend into 18th century France. But they also just kind of put clothes on all the time. You know, like...
Yeah. They love the costumes.
Just remember that if you ever want to write a Doctor Who story.
I will.
From the 60s.
There's another thing that we disagreed upon while watching this episode.
Okay.
You don't think Ian was trying to hit on Barbara a little bit or be a little flirty?
I think that they were like embracing. I don't know if
How often do you embrace a friend, Matthew?
I mean, someone that you've almost died with multiple times in recent history.
Okay, let's say you and I are going out for lunch. We have a car crash. Are we embracing?
Depends.
What do you think
If
embracing?
we were both in a car crash, but then we were both fine, maybe.
Okay, but there's a way that he pulled her towards himself and was kind of holding her arms.
He's just comforting her.
No, I think he wants that.
Are you saying that there'll be something that eventually between the two of them, something will happen?
Well, I think in 1963, if you have a man and woman in the story, you do that. Because that's an easy story plot. So I think it will.
You're right. They brought in a hot old woman for the Doctor.
And they've had this young hot woman this whole time. This young... I'm trying to say hot old woman because it's become one of our phrases. This young hot woman has been there the whole time. Yeah. I reckon something does happen between them. That's another prediction of mine. But yeah, we disagreed. I think he wants that. And I think he was trying to do something and she... didn't realise.
Now, I have to... Because I'm about to talk about the other characters who come into this story at this point.
Oh, that's right. There are other people.
Okay, so I'd just like to point out... I have no idea who most people are. And that's only because there's a huge amount of dialogue in this story arc. And there's also about 50 million different characters. And sometimes there'll be a character for a moment and you're like, okay, I'm with this person, and then they get killed. Because it's like, it's a cutthroat time. But...
we also don't want to get it wrong because they're using some historical characters.
Yes.
So we don't want to just call them random names unless it's fun.
So look at the list, though.
I think this must be the most characters they've had in an episode, right?
Yeah. So I think we've met Small Boy because they're in the order of appearance here. So
oh yeah,
these guys, is it Rouvray and Diargensen? I think they're the ones that we meet now.
Oh, yes, inside the house, you mean?
Inside the house.
Right.
So if I just open them for a second to make sure their faces match the things we're thinking. Yeah, that guy, Diargensen, remember him?
Yes.
And Rouvray.
What a weird name.
France,
Wow. We've already made enemies with Star Wars fans. Let's not start attacking an entire country.
Okay, so... don't you hate ads? Just go away. So
Apparently Game of Thrones is returning. How does that interest us? We're watching a show from 1964.
3.
Not at this point.
Are we in 64 now?
I'm pretty sure.
I
think it changed a little while ago. Ta-da!
Premiere broadcast the 8th to the 12th. 8th of August to the 12th of September 1964. You're right.
It was a little while ago we talked about the fact that it had just clicked over to the next year.
Yeah.
Rabble. That becomes important later.
Okay.
Rabble.
Rouvray, I can't say his name. But they...
Let's call him Rue.
Rue and Diargensen.
Let's just call them D.
Arkinson.
Rue and D.
Ruined D.
Well, pretty much. That's what happens.
They find that, well, I should say D knocks the doctor out, I think. He hits him over the head.
The doctor goes upstairs and the rest of the crew are downstairs.
Yeah.
And the doctor gets knocked out and he's all alone.
And then Rue and D go downstairs and they see the rest of them and they're like, who are you?
And why are you wearing our clothes?
But they don't even say that, though. They don't say why you put on our clothing. But Rue is, like, pretty measured.
But can you imagine just walking into a room and there's just strangers putting your clothes on?
I don't know.
Did they not think this through? Anyway, it's hilarious.
Rue is like, we can't just shoot these people. Whereas D is just like, they know too much, we should kill them now or whatever.
I'm all about that gun life, dog.
And while they're trying to, talk about what's going on and blah, 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 people turn up.
They do.
And this is kind of where we learn that these guys are... they're counter-revolutionaries, aren't they? Yeah, counter-revolutionaries.
Yep.
And
they're in hiding.
So they've been found, and so they stay hidden. And I've got the what was said, right?
Yep.
So D is panicking, the Rue is like, they just circle to unnerve you. And if you don't go out, maybe we'll be fine. Whereas D is he's well past unnerved. He looks like he's all shaky and all that. And Rue says, they may pass. And the next thing I wrote is, nope. Because exactly after he says, straight away, he goes, they may pass.
Just relax.
I think Susan's like, they're coming inside.
I think it's Susan's fault. She freaks him out by, building it up as a big problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, he decides to run.
He just runs out
at them.
So this was my other plan. I put nervous guy because I couldn't remember his name. Nervous guy runs out. What was the plan? Because they're just outside. So I don't think he was. He was holding a gun. I thought he was going to go out there and maybe shoot someone.
I don't think he had a gun.
But I thought he was threatening to shoot the team before. But I think when he ran out, he might not have had the gun with him. In which case, why?
Well, maybe the other guy took it off him once they realised that the doctor and the companions weren't going to be a threat. That's the only thing I can think of.
Now, these guys don't have character names. They're just Sergeant and Lieutenant.
Yep.
And Soldier. But they shoot Rue, because Rue goes out and he's like, obviously he's someone that used to be respected by those soldiers.
Yep.
Because he tells them to not do anything and they all kind of listen to him.
He stands in front of D to protect him and he's like, relax.
Relax. He still gets shot though.
Yeah.
And then D also gets shot. So the soldiers enter the house, they capture Ian, Barbara and Susan, thinking that they're also counter-revolutionaries.
Well, they're wearing the clothes.
And they're like, we're going to take you to Paris, guillotine time. Because at first they stand them outside like they're going to do a shooting of them.
Guillotine?
Guillotine? Guillotine.
Let's call it G.
Guillotine. I'm going with the L. Guillotine.
That's fine. I don't think it matters. It's French. Well, what I just mean, we don't speak French, so it's not like we're saying it wrong on purpose.
Guillotine.
So just deal with it, you French.
So they're gonna
have at it, eh? From Australia.
They're gonna shoot them outside. Now, bearing in mind the doctor's been hit unconscious and is still upstairs unconscious.
Do you know? Yeah, he is suffering brain damage because he's been knocked out.
Yeah.
Left there.
Yeah.
There's bleeding on the brain happening.
Oh, yeah.
That cannot be good for you.
Well, maybe.
It's been a few minutes.
Which might be why he's just, like...
He's concussed.
Wandering around.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So their lieutenant guy is like, no, we'll take these guys to Paris, not shoot them here, because there might be money for us.
Yes.
And besides, guillotines are fun.
Guillotines are fun. And how are we going to make people believe that we actually found them in the first place if we just kill them off?
So they take them away, and in the meantime, they throw... they torch the place that the doctor is still unconscious in, and...
I don't think they realise he's inside.
The guys...
Because he's upstairs.
The soldiers don't know that he's in there.
Yeah.
They didn't really do a thorough search. They just kind of like throw the torches on it and take them away. And that's the end of...
Episode 1.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, though, the crowd, as it started to form around the house, was making that kind of rabble, rabble, rabble noise. It's just like, they're obviously being instructed, just make noise as if you're a crowd, but not given any lines. And if you've ever seen South Park, and I'll put a clip of it in here now, the crowd is going rabble, rabble, rabble.
Because they do that again later.
Yes, they do.
They do it at...
the prison.
The prison, yeah.
Rabble, 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 rabble.
Well, sometimes you just need to rabble.
And did you notice the music was way more expressive in these episodes?
Yeah. The fire. I said, fire burning music intensifies.
It does. I mean, there's been little, like, a couple of notes here and there on a piano to be like, oh, this is a spooky thing. But this is like, there's shots of the doctor walking down a long road, and there's full-on, like, orchestra.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So there's lots of, like, maps as well, or, like, they're traveling somewhere, and there's, like, another image overlaid over that video, which I don't think we've had really before.
No.
There is something at the start of in the next episode that I'm like, ooh, camera work is, like, going next level.
Yeah.
So, just before we kind of, like, so... Let's get to the start of the second episode.
Yeah.
So the building's on fire. The boy from the start, manages to help the doctor escape.
Mm-hmm. And
the doctor's like... They have a really weird exchange where the boy's like, I wish I could travel. And the doctor's like, no. Because the boy's also like, my father's died or whatever.
Whatever.
And the doctor's like... Yes, you're the man of the house now. You must go back and help your mum or whatever. And
I can't take you with me.
I can't take you with me. And so he leaves. Like, so the doctor heads towards Paris. Now, I looked this up while you were away.
Okay.
He was 12 kilometres from Paris.
That's quite a walk.
Yeah.
Especially for an old fella who could...
And he has some other things that he needs to do on the way.
Yes, he does.
So, we get Barbara in and Susan in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got some great shots of Paris.
Yes,
all those zooms in.
Yeah.
Zooms in. I thought it was, obviously for the time, that's just what you do. But it was like an image, a black and white picture of Paris and just the camera zooming in on it. And then the words Paris just like overlaid on top.
If you weren't sure, this is Paris.
Yes. And so...
You know what shot it is? In the movies where, like modern day movies, they're zooming in slowly from far away. And then it zooms in on people walking in real life chatting.
There's no walking though.
It's that, but a photo. It's pretty funny.
They're sentenced to death.
Yeah.
We don't really see much before that, but apparently you're basically guilty upon arrival in Paris. So they didn't really have a chance to defend themselves. Susan and Barbara are put in a cell.
Yep.
With a jailer who's all like, hey, Barbara.
Oh, who's this young hot woman?
Uncomfortable.
He's pretty creepy. He reminds me of that guy in the shack in Snow of Terror.
Yes.
Back in the day. The one who was like, I break some wolves' backs,
Yes, no, I remember him well. Ugh. I just think that...
Poor Barbara.
Yeah.
She's just getting accosted at every moment.
It's happened a couple times now.
Imagine being harassed, not just today, but in various moments in time and space.
Yes. Like, oh, can we go to like a more normal time or something?
It's just like, oh, jeez.
And because later she gets close to someone else as well.
She loves the men.
Well, yes.
We've discussed this. Not Ian, though. Poor Ian.
So, Susan thinks that, like, Niall is, like, really concerned about the doctor. But Susan and Barbara put in their own cell. And Ian, because William Russell's going to go on holidays, is put in a different cell.
It kind of makes sense in terms of splitting up the men and the women, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
But, yeah. And then you're right, we don't really see much of him after that.
Now, I've got the next bit as... So, Susan and Barbara are like, we'll try and escape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so... I think we should do this sort of in parts. So can we follow Susan and Barbara for a bit?
Yeah.
We'll follow Ian for a bit. And we'll follow the doctor for a bit.
That makes sense. It's 3 separate storylines.
Yeah. So Susan and Barbara are like... Barbara's like, oh, these rocks are wet. So, like, they're weak. So we can probably try and break out.
It probably leads to a sewer.
Yeah.
We can get out of here.
So I don't know how you can get Susan out there because she seems terrified of everything. But they break up the bed...
Yep.
And they use parts of the bed to break through the wall.
As like leverage or like bashing into it or whatever.
And at one point, the jailer comes over and they throw the rags down on the ground to be like, oh, cover the hole we're making. And he walks in. What are the rags doing there? Like almost immediately.
Yeah. He
leaves them food, and just before he figures out what's going on, he gets called away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the next moment, Susan and Barbara eat their food.
Yep.
And Susan's like, I'll start digging again. And Barbara's like, oh, it's my turn, and blah, blah, blah. So then Susan goes to, like, keep digging, sees rats, and is like, we're not going out that way. So I'm just like... And Barbara is so easy to be like, oh, it's okay, Susan, we won't go out that way. You know, her line is literally, we'll just stay here. Like, you're about to be killed.
Are you insane? Yeah, you are on the next list to be guillotined.
Guillotined?
Well, I feel like...
Your head's going to get chopped off.
Yeah, your head's going to get chopped off, alright? That's in English. I feel like different actors said it different ways in the show as well.
Maybe it depends if they were British or French.
Oh.
Or oui.
How very French of you. Anyway, I don't know how it works. I give up. That's me being French now.
Jeez. Okay, so if we follow Ian.
I suppose rats are a bit of an inconvenience when you could just have your head taken off and forget about all of it.
Yeah, correct. So Susan and Barbara are still in their cell. They don't get out until a bit later. And let's move to Ian in his cell.
Yes.
So Ian is in his cell with Webster.
Yep.
Some Frenchman. And Webster's all trying to, like, is dying.
He's been shot.
Yeah. And I don't know why he's telling Ian these things, but he tells Ian some messages for James Sterling. And it's a secret message about, you know, you've got intelligence that needs to go back to England so that, you know, we have that intelligence.
Yeah, that was it's meant to be a plot point that's like, ooh, you need to find this spy and get him back home because what he's telling us is important. How is that a message, though?
Yeah.
Hey, tell this guy to get back. We need him. That's your big secret message?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, then what happens...
With Ian?
So the guy dies. Someone comes in and they're like, oh, he's dead. And this is a guy who... He's a bigger character later. But he comes in and he sees Ian and he's like, did he tell you anything? And Ian's like, nope. Because he doesn't trust random stranger yet.
Yeah.
And then the guy goes out and gets Ian's name taken off from being executed.
Yeah.
And then...
So that he has a chance to maybe question him or find out if anything was said by the guy who just died.
Yes.
They know something's up with that guy, but they don't know what.
Okay, and then we leave in, and let's go to the doctor. Now, the doctor one I have is... so the doctor's having a casual stroll to Paris montage.
Yes, he is.
Because he just kind of walk in, and it cuts, and he takes off his jacket at some point because I guess it gets hot. And there's this is the cool camera bit moment.
Yeah.
So like the doctor's walking and he comes across some labourers, some like people who have done tax avoidance or something.
Yeah.
The camera like swings around a corner.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's good, nice work.
To kind of pan towards the people doing the manual labour.
Yeah, and I guess it shows it's like a larger space.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And this is where the doctor has like a nice savage exchange. So there's a warden of some kind, like a guy who's like watching them. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I've got to make them work hard because we're supposed to get this far and we're only this far. And we need to be this far by the end of the day.
And he's treating them pretty brutally.
Yeah. And the doctor's like, I see, like you've been doing this a while and, someone like you. And so they both sit down and the doctor's like just listening to this guy being like, oh, it's so stressful having to make these other people work hard. And then the doctor, he says, can I offer you a piece of advice?
It's so friendly.
And the guy says, oh, I'll listen to anything. And the doctor says something along the lines of, it would go a lot faster if you picked up something and did the work yourself. And he's like, I'm not having that. And he's immediately like, where are your papers? And the doctor's like, I don't have any papers. And then I don't understand. I guess the guy was going to stop him from leaving because he had a gun.
I guess he did. Yeah, he did.
He did. But the doctor's just like, all right, now I'm in this situation. And the guy gets him like a pickaxe and starts digging.
So this old Doctor who's feeble, has been stumbling around on different episodes, needs Ian to help him out. Sometimes is so tired, Barbara has to help him walk along. He's now there. Sorry, Susan. It is Susan. He's now there with a pickaxe, hacking into this dirt like it's nothing. I also just wrote, Doctor Who can't help being a smartass again and ends up doing manual labour. He just gets himself in trouble. Because he's so smart, obviously, but he can't help but want to prove it.
But then the Doctor, he's really clever.
As he says.
He says, he does say that. He said, modest, like, there's no need to be modest about it.
Yeah, the guy says, oh, you think you're pretty clever, huh? And he's like, well, modesty aside, yes. It's just so savage.
And he talks to the other people they're digging, and they're like, oh, we're going to trick this, we're going to trick this guard. So, I'm just going to tell you the plan.
Yeah.
And you tell me how reasonable this plan is,
Go
right?
ahead, yes.
So the plan is...
What a plan.
Pretend to see an eclipse. And while you're looking at fake eclipse, you steal a few coins from the guard's pocket.
Yep.
Bury the coins.
Yep.
Find coins. And be like, oh my gosh, there's huge amounts of treasure hidden here.
Yep.
And then huge amounts of treasure will be enough to distract the guard that you can just hit him over the head with a spade.
Yep.
A shovel, rather.
Which is what the Doctor does.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
Sorry, but I didn't know if you meant so one of those people could. But I just want to make it clear, he's the real savage one that's just like, blam!
And he really warms up his hands for it too.
He does. In fact, they show one of the other guys looking away, being like, cringing, like, oh no.
Yeah. And also the guy's just on the ground sleeping. Like he snores.
Well, I think they wanted to make it really clear that he hadn't killed him. So they zoom
the Doctor
in
doesn't kill people.
and make sure you can hear him snoring very loudly.
Or does he?
Oh. Okay, question.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
do you have questions about the plan? You can talk first if you want.
Well, it just seems like a bit of a far-fetched plan. Like, first of all, it's pretty obvious if there is an eclipse.
Yes.
Okay, so if there isn't an eclipse, like, what? You should have made up something else.
Wouldn't that make
It doesn't
suspicious?
even matter. It doesn't even matter what you're looking at. If you're all looking at the same thing and the guard comes over, you have enough time to steal the coins out of his pocket. You can just say, oh, there's like on the horizon there, can't you see it? Don't say there's an eclipse. Because if there's not an eclipse...
You're in trouble.
It's pretty obvious.
Okay. Why bother with the coins? When they distract the guard to look at the eclipse, why not then hit him over the head?
Well, because
Because you then, if you do it the other way, you have to bury the coins, then assume he's going to say, stand back, I'm the one digging out there's coins.
Yes.
If he doesn't do that, your plans are done.
But also, there's enough of you there, right? If you're all looking at the eclipse,
Yeah.
and one of you goes around behind him and hits him over the head with a shovel,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, you don't need to do the coin trick. And then you can just take his money.
Yeah. Oh, it's so weird. I guess it worked, but,
And then we get another montage of the Doctor walking.
and fun music.
Yeah.
It felt like, like those 1940s kind of movies, like, Gene Kelly, like,
Yeah.
a fancy musical sort of a montagey thing. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No. Episode 3?
We'd never seen scenes like that in Doctor Who, though.
No.
Not that I remember.
That's the end of that episode too. Well, actually, I lie. The end of the episode is it cuts to Ian looking through the bars of his prison cell and seeing Susan and Barbara being taken away to be executed.
Yeah. Which is the scene you said he shot so he could be off on holidays.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yes. So, next episode.
A change of identity.
So the Doctor arrives in Paris. He's just walking around Paris. There's like a little clips of him. By the way, there is also a moment where he walks past a rock that says Paris 5 kilometers away, just to let you know he's almost there, and then he gets there.
And no one thinks this guy looks weird. No one owns anything like what this guy's wearing, and he's just walking around going,
So Susan and Barbara are being taken away to be decapitated, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
And they get rescued by... Now, I didn't know their names, but their names are here. I found them on TARDIS Wiki.
Oh, yeah.
Jules and Jean? Jean.
Let's
But
say John.
John.
Because they kind of pronounced it like it was the name John instead of like Jean.
Yeah. And then they take them back to their safe house.
After killing those guards.
After killing the guards. So I guess they're not sure who who they are. They don't know who Susan and Barbara are, but I guess they assume that they're innocent in this.
Well, I think they assume that they must be counter-revolution because they're being taken away to get executed.
Yeah.
But we both noticed that weird video glitch.
Yeah, where one guy fires a gun and it's just like he moves really weirdly.
Well, I thought what happened was this guy gets shot. It looks like he dies and drops the gun, and in the next frame he's suddenly awake again, still sitting down, firing at other people.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the video because it looks great.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
So it says, Jules and John kill the guards and spirit them back to their safe house. Take them back to the safe house.
Spirit them back? What does
that
that
when you say
mean?
spirit, you spirit them away? Like you take them away.
I believe you.
In a rush.
I've never heard that before, but I believe you.
Good, because it's true.
That's a weird phrase.
Now, this is a bit where Ian's in his cell.
Yep.
Back
from holiday.
The jailer opens the door a little bit and puts food in there. Locks the door, but leaves the keys in because he's called away suddenly.
Yeah, he couldn't quite get the key out of the lock, and he keeps getting in trouble for being too slow when his superior calls him, so he just leaves it.
Yeah. And then Ian crouches near the door, looks through the bars, sees the keys. Now, I wondered why at that point Ian didn't just leave then, but I guess it's daytime and there's people around. Because he takes the key for his door off the set of keys and puts the keys back in.
So, yeah, exactly. I think the reason, and you do see it, when the guy comes back to collect the keys, he really hurriedly looks through the gap in the door to make sure that no one escaped. And he's like, phew.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to settle. Ian's a crafty, clever person.
Crafty little fella. Oh, he could be resourceful.
He could be resourceful and strong.
Says one Doctor Who.
He could beat up a Jaguar warrior, probably.
Well, he has.
Oh, jeez.
Even an Aztec.
I put down here, so Susan's feeling ill now at the safe house.
By the way, where did that come from, and what is the point of that storyline?
And yeah, Susan's always.
But
well, at first, Barbara was like, "We got to get off before they get rescued." Barbara's like, "We got to get out of here," and Susan's like, "Oh, I can't. I'm too sick." And it's again another moment where Barbara goes, "All right, we'll just stay here then."
Get executed.
Yeah, but luckily they get saved.
But can I just say, in the storyline of the Sensorites,
Yeah,
we see Ian get sick, and we know why he got sick, and there was a reason in terms of the story why he got sick, because he got poisoned.
Yes.
How did she get sick, and why? What does it have to do with the story?
I guess when you're in a prison in that time period, I guess diseases go around pretty quick.
Maybe it has to do
But
with her
also,
being near the rats.
she was only in there like maybe a day.
Yeah, because they were up next to be executed.
Maybe she's just weak.
But what does it add to the plot, though? There's no reason for her to get sick and then
It's
get
a
better.
reason to stop them from escaping.
Is that
at
what
that
it was?
point. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's all it was.
And also,
It's kind of weird.
later, there's lots of gunfire and stuff, and I don't know how you have, like, a young girl in the middle of, like, shootouts and stuff. I guess maybe they didn't want to have that.
So it's an excuse for her not to be caught in the middle of that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. As in...
They could have also just said, Susan, you're too young to be in this fight.
Because that
You
would
just
work.
be safe here in this safe house.
But you're saying the BBC weren't sure how that would look, having a child in the middle
yeah,
of
I reckon
warfare.
that could be it. Because they used to get in trouble all the time by things. Like
Really?
we did that episode where, with this, you know how she had in the Edge of Destruction where she had the scissors,
Oh, yeah.
and they had to apologise for showing like a young lady violently stabbing with scissors.
Yes.
So
Even though it was only a chair.
she was just stabbing a chair, but she did also threaten people with scissors, and she also looked creepy for most of that episode.
She did. And now she's pathetic.
I put in here, the Doctor's on his own adventure.
Yep. He really is.
He's just running around Paris, and then he gets some clothes. So he goes into a store. I don't know, maybe some historians out there can correct me,
Yeah.
but I feel like if you just walked into a store, unless you're wearing very good clothes, and I'm not saying the Doctor's not wearing very good clothes, but he isn't, okay? And I don't know where you would just be like, I'll just trade you my clothes for these.
He does try to convince him. He's kind of like, I want those fancy clothes. You've never seen anything like this before, because it's obviously from further ahead in time.
Yeah.
But so what? They still look like rags. Well, not rags, but...
It's just like a nice jacket. It's just a jacket and some dressy clothes.
Here, let me give you this, like, regalia that's going to make people think that you're in charge of, like, a section of the country.
Yeah.
And I'll take that jacket and
Yeah, but
pajama
you forget,
pants.
the Doctor said he was in charge of a section of the country.
So then people just give him clothes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So whenever you want free clothes, you just go into a clothing store and you say, I am, I don't know, the King of Australia.
I am the King of Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, the Queen? Well, I'm a king, so... He definitely wins fancy dress this time.
He does. It's pretty fancy. The trade for it, though, is not only does the Doctor give the tailor all of his own clothes, he also gives him his ring.
Yeah, that's true.
So...
Because the Doctor says, I want some parchment and pen.
Yep.
Because he's obviously going to craft something to go along with his costume to try to get him through more places. And the store owner says, well, I want that ring then. And that becomes important later.
Yes.
I think that's the end of episode 3? No?
No, man, we're not. We are not.
Whoa, I didn't see those 4 huge paragraphs.
Yeah. So, Ian uses the key that he got earlier. Yeah, this is not a huge plot point. Ian uses the key they got earlier, gets out of his prison cell and escapes. And Lemaitre, I can't say his name.
Let's say Lamont.
And that's the way. He orchestrated that basically, because he wants to see what Ian knows. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we don't know Lamont. We don't know his intentions.
No.
Or who he is, really.
We just know that he has some interest in what that guy who just passed away said, so he doesn't trust Ian and wants to follow him.
Yeah. Susan and Barbara are at the safe house.
Yes.
They're safe.
They are now safe.
And we'll figure out how Ian fits into that later. But that's the next episode.
Yeah.
Barbara and Susan tell them everything that's happened to them. You know, they were at the farmhouse and they got captured and they've been brought here. And
they're not on either side of the revolution.
no, they're like, are you with us or not with us? Have you pick a side? And they're like, oh, we're not on any side. And they're like, well, you're in Paris, so you probably should pick a side.
Pick a side.
And so Susan is sick. Mm-hmm. And so they take her to lie down. And while it's happening, someone else rocks up, Leon, and quickly starts to... It says here, I didn't write this, but it says quickly striking up a romantic flirtation with Barbara. Because they do get friendly pretty quickly.
They do.
I think his behaviour, oh, hello, is still at... Not to the same level, but still creepy. But not... breaking a wolf's back level of creepiness. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a little bit like, oh, I've just met you and let's get more acquainted.
That's the key thing. It's not what he does, it's how quickly he just goes for it. That's what makes it creepy.
Yes.
He has never seen this person before. And within seconds he's like, oh, give me your hand so I may kiss it. And, you know.
Yeah.
Ladies?
Yeah, there's a lot of grabbing of hands in this.
It's a theme of Doctor Who. There's hand rubbing. There's statues with arms and hands that grab you around the waist.
Ooh. There's
guys during the time of the French Revolution just like grabbing onto ladies. It's a good time.
So the Doctor, who's now dressed as a regional officer.
Yeah, and I mean, so he's got like one of those. It looks like one of those military jackets that has like the real puffy shoulders. And a chain.
Lovely headpiece on.
A headpiece on. It's probably a foot above his head of just like feathers.
Yeah.
It's pretty fancy.
So if someone walked in wearing that, I'd be like, you must be important.
Yeah.
So he walks into the jail.
Yep.
Because I guess he's trying to find out what's happened to Susan, Barbara, and Ian.
Yeah.
And so he's acting all like, oh, like they should be, punished or whatever, because he's in character now.
Yeah.
And the jailer's like, oh, like they got, their carriage got hijacked and they got saved, and he's like, oh, what about the male? So he's talking about Ian, and he's like, oh, he also escaped. And the Doctor is like, oh, you're surrounded by idiots or whatever to the jailer, which is great. The jailer's like, yes, it's totally not my fault.
Yeah.
So Lamart arrives.
Lemaitre.
And insists that the Doctor comes to visit First Deputy Robespierre. Robespierre. To report on his province. Now, the Doctor had papers with him.
Yeah.
So I put, he's falsifying credentials.
Yep.
That's going to keep happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so what you're saying is he's not a doctor.
He is a doctor. Of various things.
Yeah, but
he's not trying to convince people that he's a doctor here.
No, but I'm just saying, if he's got a history of falsifying credentials,
ooh,
maybe we should call him Mr. Who.
Well, as you will find out,
oh,
he he does, in a way, just give himself that name.
So it's kind of like Dr. Dre. You've got Dr. Dre and Doctor Who.
Yeah, I guess.
Rap
I
battles.
guess. Well, but Dr. Dre is a doctor of sound, isn't he? Anyway,
It's kind of like Dr. Seuss.
now,
He probably was a doctor or some kind.
SEUSS.
Yeah, a doctor of Seuss's. This guy is a doctor of Dre's, and our show is about a doctor of Who's.
Oh, good.
He's an owl doctor.
So they leave, and the tailor rocks up, and he's like, "This weird guy gave me his coat, and I gave him clothes." And he puts the ring on the table, and he's like, "This means he's not really who he says he is."
Okay, yeah, but why? What's up with the ring?
So I'll read you what it says right here. Ready?
Yeah.
The shopkeeper says it's important as he is proof of a traitor. As he says this, he displays the doctor's ring.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Why does the ring
That's the
prove
only. It's a ring. And as we all know, no Frenchman wears ring.
First of all, that's not a sentence. No Frenchman wears ring. But maybe it's explained in the next episode, but I get the whole idea is now they can prove he's not who he is.
Yeah.
But why does the ring prove that? What is on the ring?
That's a good question. Also, what's the ring symbolize to the doctor?
Oh, does it mean something?
Oh,
I just thought he liked fancy clothes.
we'll talk about where his clothes come from when he dies.
What? He's gonna die?
Well, each doctor, you know this.
Hey, I'm in season 1 of Doctor Who, okay?
But you know there's like 13 doctors.
I just thought they were a ragtag group of friends, you know?
Okay, so the shopkeeper says it's important, blah, blah, blah. And that's how that episode ends, with the ring on the table.
Yep. And blah, blah, blah is correct. There's a lot of talking in these episodes.
And it ramps up.
Rabble, rabble, rabble.
Particularly in these animated episodes.
Yes.
It goes well up.
Oh, maybe it's good we didn't have all that footage. So much talking.
Yeah. We still have to hear it.
That's true. Episode 4 and 5 of this one are the lost episodes.
Yeah.
So they're animated because they have the sound.
What did you think of the animation style?
To be honest, it wasn't my favourite, but I think nowadays we're spoilt for good animation. You got to remember how long. Well, no, this was
recent animation.
2013.
Yeah, something like that.
I wasn't a huge fan because I don't feel like when they spoke that the mouths lined up with what was being said.
Yeah, I also think though there's a bit of deliberate, dating of it, so it doesn't look too modern. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
A lot of the set that's drawn, it still looks pretty minimal.
And it's still in black and white.
It reminded me of old school point and click adventure animation.
Yeah.
Like you'd have someone talk like that.
Yep.
And then you'd be like, select the next dialogue option. You know what I mean? Those sorts of...
It wasn't terrible. I'm not saying it was bad, but there was one thing I noticed, which was everyone's face had a little bit of detail, and then I don't know if it's an age thing or it's because it's the Doctor. He had a lot of detail on his face.
Lots of lines.
Lots of lines.
But he also did lots of the thinking face.
Finger on the chin.
Finger on the chin. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Lamarte.
Here's my 5-star review. I didn't hate it.
That's not a 5-star review.
5 stars.
All right. 5 stars. I didn't hate it. 5 stars. It was okay.
These are the best animated episodes of Doctor Who I've ever seen. So 5 stars.
You are going to see more.
Well, so far these are the best.
So the Doctor is taken to have what's his name? Robespierre. Robespierre.
Think of not a cloak, but a robe and a spear.
Robespierre. So the Doctor's talking to Robespierre, and Robespierre's like, "Tell me about your province," and the Doctor's like, "Well, let me tell you about Paris." So, because obviously he doesn't want him to know that he's not actually from a province.
He probably can't even name one.
No, I'm sure he can name one.
No, yeah, but
that's his favourite period of human history.
Yeah, but that guy would know people from those provinces, so he'd be like, "No, it's this guy. Who are you?" Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know.
And that guy basically says, I'm not interested in what you have to say about Paris. You're from some little province somewhere.
Yeah, so I think we'll split this up again a little bit. So we'll follow the doctor for a little bit.
Yeah.
So the doctor's like, oh, we didn't have time to talk about my province because we chatted a bit. They didn't talk for very long. I'd just like to point that out.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, oh, we don't have time to talk about my province, so I better go. And they're like, you're going to come back tomorrow, right? And he's like, oh, well, maybe. We'll think about it. And they get to the jail because... that's where he left from, I guess. I don't know why they went back there.
This is your home now.
Yeah. But Lemaitre is like, you should stick around. The doctor's like, oh, I should leave. And Lemaitre's like, oh, it's too dark and it's not right. And so you're sleeping here.
You know what's basically happening?
What?
You know the song Baby It's Cold Outside?
Mm-hmm.
And the woman's like, I should go. And he's like, no, just stay a bit longer. This is him and Doctor Who.
I don't know. Okay.
I need to leave this revolution. Baby, it's cold outside. I need to get back to my province.
I'm just reading the thing.
Sorry, I just took us completely off point.
So... the doctor's like, oh, I'll get out of here. And the jailer has a gun. And then he's like, no, you're not leaving.
No.
You're sticking around. And so the doctor's like, yeah, I guess I better stay now.
Well, I think they've been suspicious of him the whole time. And the idea of getting him to talk about his province is to maybe check if he's legit or not.
Yeah.
They're starting to get suspicious of him.
Lemaitre returns to his quarters. And there's the shopkeeper who shows him the ring and clothes.
Yeah.
Which again proves that the doctor, whatever, isn't French.
See, the clothes makes more sense. To be like, he's not wearing his real clothes, but I don't get the ring. Why does the ring matter?
Maybe he put the ring on the table to be like, he used to wear this.
And there's more where this comes from.
The clothes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that then.
Alright, now flip over. Moving across to Barbara and Susan.
Excuse me, Matthew?
Moving over to Barbara and Susan.
Oh, okay.
So Susan's really sick. Leon's like, we'll get a physician for her. And Barbara's like, oh, so helpful. So they're starting to become stronger friends.
She's easily pleased, unless you're Ian.
Yeah. And Ian... This is the part where Ian turns up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Barbara and Susan left to this and checking out their hideouts. They're shocked to see someone in there. Jules sneaks in, strikes them, and little do they know it is Ian. They hit Ian and they bring him back. That's right. So there was a bit of emptiness. There was a bit of a gap between Ian escaping and then suddenly I think he's tied up to a chair with a bag on his head.
Yeah.
So then they pull the bag off his head.
And they realise, well...
They don't know who he is.
The other companions then realise it's Ian.
Yeah.
That's a pretty lucky break, because...
They could have just killed him.
They could have just killed him. Or if he had been caught by anyone else who wasn't those particular people from that house, it's over.
Yeah.
And he also happens to be the person who happened to be in the cell with that guy with the information about the spy.
Yeah, because Ian tells them, I was in a cell with Webster, and I have information that's only for someone in particular.
Who I don't even know yet.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm not telling you, because I don't know who you are,
yeah.
So why would I tell you that? I keep losing where I... You know what the problem is with this story?
There's too much story.
There is a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, the dialogue makes it hard.
Now, there was a point in here...
Yeah.
Where it is literally just, cutting... And it happens a lot, because I guess without the visual side, you just have the audio.
Mm-hmm.
But it is just cutting across, 5 different people just talking. I think I kept getting confused as to who was who and who was saying what and why they were saying it.
Because it wasn't always clear from the animation who was what character all the time.
And also who was speaking.
Yeah.
sometimes when they did the wide shot of all of them in a room, you couldn't actually tell which one of them was talking.
Because, as we said, the animation doesn't line up with their mouths.
Yeah. So I don't think Ian sees Barbara yet. But Barbara takes Susan to see a physician.
Mm-hmm.
And the physician, we cut again, and the physician is talking to Barbara and Susan and is suspicious of them because Barbara has blisters on her hands.
Yeah.
The physician's basically like, look at your hands, and like grabs her hand.
The show loves hands.
And she's like, oh, it's nothing. And he's like, no, you got blisters from trying to break out of a prison. Let me put all that together in my head.
Because that's the only way you get blisters on your hands, is breaking out of prison.
Yes. So that means that... So the physician's like, I'm suspicious, and leaves, but locks Susan and Barbara in
The house. Or in that room, maybe.
In that room. And goes and gets back up. And then Susan and Barbara are captured again.
Yep. Someone even makes a joke about it later. Because they talk about the fact that they managed to escape, and this person's like, yeah, but they've already been caught and they're in jail again. Like. And
then Ian goes to meet Leon, but it turns out to be an ambush, and Ian's captured as well.
Yep.
Or it appears to be so at this stage.
They all get captured again.
Except the doctor, he's
never
dressed.
been captured.
In this episode.
In these... Well, apart from being left in the house to burn to death.
Yes.
He's never been captured. But the dialogue, like, it's just crazy. Like, it's said so fast that there's not even time... Like, if you and I are having a dialogue, right? And I ask you a question... Wouldn't you need a second to think about an answer?
Yeah.
This is just like a guy saying, do you have any objections? There's no objections. Okay, I'm going to go over and do this. Okay, I'll wait.
This is the plan, yes. And you'll do this, and then I'll do that. And it's like, it bounces between so many different people. And I don't think that was probably the intention at the time.
No.
But also, I think it is probably a good depiction of there's a lot of people involved in this.
Yeah.
Like, the French Revolution has a lot of like people doing stuff in it.
Lots of moving parts.
But I feel like they should have had like a stronger like lead to be like the person representing the counter-revolutionaries and the person representing the revolutionaries. Like, you know, like... And then you've obviously got this other storyline with James Sterling, who's English, who has intelligence. I just feel like there's a lot of storylines going on. Yeah. And the doctor's, you know, out having, like, getting a new dress. The doctor's new dress.
The doctor's new dress.
Well, he's good. You know how I said it's really interesting to see how he collects his clothing?
Yeah.
Like, that's a nice, you know, maybe he'll use that again.
Oh, so you recognised it?
Oh, no. I'm just saying maybe he...
That's what happens.
Because he seems to just pick up things.
But constantly you feel like the director of these episodes is going, quick, faster!
Well,
just say the line!
You just wait till trivia, because I got things to say about this director.
Excellent.
So... Okay.
You already look frustrated. You haven't even started.
Can I just show you this?
Yet.
Look at this. Look at all the stuff that happens in one episode.
Okay, but does 6 look less? It looks a little bit... Oh, no. Sorry.
Okay,
We can broadly sum it up, because it doesn't really matter.
let me tell you what happens.
Go ahead.
And you throw in some comments.
This is now Bargain of Necessity.
Yeah,
Episode 5.
The doctor goes to the jail...
In costume again.
In costume. And someone, I don't care who anymore...
jailer
says to him, we think it'd be a good idea for you to interrogate our latest prisoner.
Yep.
And the doctor goes into the cell and it's Barbara. And he's like, oh, person that I was trying to get rid of. It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Dear Barbara.
We're friends again.
Whatever he says to her.
Well, I think he feels bad now.
Yeah, that he's led them to almost be decapitated, yes. And he's like... you know, he leaves the cell and he says to the jailer, I've got a plan. We're going to, like, let them escape and capture them or follow them or whatever. I don't remember what the plan is. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
Okay. But then he leaves the door open for Barbara to leave. And she does.
But the jailer listened in on their conversation from the other side of the door. So he's starting to be really suspicious now because he realizes this guy knows all these people.
Yeah. So as Barbara leaves the prison for Jules' house, Jules returns to find Barbara and Ian gone, and he does that scene where he just shouts, "Barbara? Ian?" You know, he just shouts. Remember that?
Yeah.
So
now, quick, next piece of dialogue. Let's go.
And then it smash cut. Jules is now at the church, and he finds
That was quick.
because he knew Ian was going there. He kills the people that had trapped Ian, and Ian is saved. Okay, now, so we've got people who have been, so Barbara's now safe, Ian's now safe, we've got to get Susan safe. So this is the last part of our plan. So the doctor's like, I got another plan, it doesn't matter what it is.
This is prison musical chairs.
So, I feel like
the one with
anyone
the
who's
music.
listening to this episode is just listening to us, like turning to madness.
And
'Cause it just gets... I mean, I'm serious. If you have time, just look at the sheer amount of stuff that happens just on like the Wikipedia page for it.
For the Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
If you think this is confusing, try watching this thing.
Oh, jeez.
And you can. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, you can, apparently. Or Daily Motion. Okay, so the doctor's like to the jailer, release Susan as well. The jailer is reluctant to do this. By the way, Susan isn't as ill anymore. So just remember that. She's now fine.
She's now fine, whatever.
And he doesn't want to get in trouble, the jailer, so he doesn't do that. Ian and Jules return to the safe house, and Ian is surprised to see Barbara. And they have to tell Barbara that the mate that she was in love with was actually a traitor.
Yep.
And so she's like, oh, what? And she's obviously quite sad. And they have, like, words are said.
Yeah.
But eventually she's fine.
Because, you know, your whole life changes after 5 minutes of flirting with a random person who you've only found during the French Revolution after
I was going to
travelling
say,
through
if
space
I
and
met
time.
someone today, and then tomorrow it turned out that they were, like, a mass murderer or something, I'd be like, oh, I guess I didn't know that person very well.
Good. You wouldn't be heartbroken.
No. I'd be a bit confused.
Because you're the heartbreaker.
Okay.
Hey, ladies.
So they stay in their safe house, and they're waiting because they think the doctor's going to get Susan. The doctor doesn't turn up with Susan, he turns up with Lamatra. And these... What's his name? Barris?
Badass?
Badass? No, Renan. We haven't even mentioned Renan.
Sorry.
Renan says...
We forgot the 9th person.
Renan says the doctor has betrayed us. And then that's the end of the episode. And they all nod because it's a cartoon, it's the animation.
Yeah. Which cleverly, when we start episode 6, we see it's the same scene with real people.
And they're still nodding.
And you can see why the animator had to be like, fine, we'll make them all nod.
Oh, goodness. Okay, episode 6.
Prisoners of Conciergerie.
I have a feeling I know what score I'm giving this. Okay, so...
You know, funnily enough, when we started episode 1, I was already thinking, man, this is going to be a good score. And then it just went downhill.
That first bit, I mean, particularly when there was a montage of the Doctor walking to Paris, I was 100% on board.
Even the beginning, right at the beginning in the TARDIS, I was like, man, this feels really cool as a story.
Would you say that the story felt really cool for the first 3 episodes?
I don't know where you're going with this.
Because something might have happened.
Oh, I see.
To really ruin the last 3 episodes.
Trivia time?
Trivia time.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was cool for that long. I thought maybe the first 15 minutes was pretty good. Hang on, what I mean is, this was a fun... No, this was a fun watch, but in terms of were they good episodes, I'm not sure.
Oh, well, you're about to hear a cameo appearance, so it's pretty good.
Oh.
Lemaitre is like, well, we're going to do a thing.
No, you can't just... I know it was confusing, but what happened?
Okay, I'm just going to read straight from this
I want
for
to
just
know...
a minute.
I want to know what the thing
Lemaitre
is.
reveals that he has been orchestrating the releases and recapture of the Doctor's companion since the beginning.
That's not confusing.
When Ian questions, because by the way, you're right, like Lemaitre, like, that is confusing because the jailer leaves the keys in Ian's door. Did he... So he must have known when the keys were in the door to call out to him. Because he was there watching him put the keys in.
You know, even after watching the whole thing, I didn't think of that, but you're right. He must have been watching around the corner. Oh, the keys are in the door. Come over here, quickly!
Yeah. Don't just leave the keys. Leave the keys!
It's so
Also,
confusing.
his whole plan would have been ruined then if the guy did just take the keys with him.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So Lemaitre... twist, and look, it did actually feel like a twist because I think it was the one name I had held on to this whole time.
Yeah.
He reveals that he's James Sterling.
Yes, that was a good twist.
Okay, so Sterling's undercover, and was supposed to get to Webster,
and it makes
before
sense
Webster died.
because he says, "Well, of course I had to be a high power person. How else was I going to get around and put my plan into place?"
Yeah. So Sterling is supposed to receive a message from Webster.
Yep.
But Webster's dead. But Webster told that message to Ian. So Ian tells that message to James Sterling.
Yep.
And it's, you've got to come home because you know things and England needs those things.
So So here's the exchange.
Yeah.
Oh, I need you to go and tell this spy he knows lots of things. Okay, now I die. Okay, I find spy. Hey, spy. We know you, spy. We know you know lots of things. Time to go home now.
Yeah.
Very important. Leave.
So the other bit that Ian remembers is there's a meeting with Barras.
Badass.
There's a badass meeting happening at the sinking ship, which is like a pub.
Right.
And so the plan is that Ian and Barbara will be undercover.
Yep.
Goodness knows why they're helping, whatever.
I'll tell you why. Because they get to wear more costumes. They get to work at the pub and wear the costumes.
Ian gets to have like a phony accent when he talks to Barras.
I saw your face when he did the accent and you started writing, and I'm like, yep, he's writing something about that accent.
I've got the quote from the Doctor when he first sees Barbara too. It says, "My dear Barbara," is what he says. My dear Barbara. So
who else?
I said, is Ian trying to sound French?
I didn't pick that up. I just thought he was trying to sound like
not Ian,
almost a pirate. Like, hey boy, you want your beer?
In preparation for Barras to arrive, they drill a hole in part of the wall. A really obvious hole, by the way. Couldn't have made that smaller or put it in the painting or something.
They drill a chasm in the wall to look through.
I guess it could just look like an old building and there's a hole on the wall.
A perfectly circular hole. Where are they getting a drill, by the way?
Oh, it was like a twisty thing, wasn't it?
No, it must have been. They weren't just like
a corkscrew kind of thing.
Sure.
And they're always in every pub. So they know that they're going to meet at the back of the pub.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Ian, Barbara undercover, and there's also some other person who I can't remember. There's some other person who I can't remember in the thing.
It doesn't matter. Number 10.
Yeah. So
person 10.
Barras comes in and he's all like, "Oh, have you got our spot for us?" And Ian's like, yeah, it's out the back. Shows him around the back.
Yeah.
And then the guy kind of does a quick check to make sure it's a secure room. Doesn't see the massive hole in the wall. And then someone walks in with their face kind of covered up because it's cold outside, I guess.
Baby, it's cold outside.
And goes, "Ian, I'm ignoring you." And then goes, because I can't...
It all fits the song.
If I don't get this out of my mouth, I'll forget what happened next. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Because even with the TARDIS wiki there is so much happening. Okay, so...
Yep.
He goes out the back, and Ian's like, "I didn't see his face," and blah, blah, blah. And then so Ian and Barbara both...
Mystery. Who could it be?
Ian and Barbara both look through that tiny hole to hear them talking, and they realise it's Napoleon Bonaparte.
Ta-da!
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Cameo,
and they talk about,
we should say cameo.
Someone's going to be in charge of France.
Ooh.
And they're like, oh, there's a revolution coming. Like,
A coming?
and someone's going to need to be, French leader.
Yeah.
Yep. So they hear them plotting, and then I don't think we see them leave. I think Barbara and Ian just get information.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost at the end. Thank the Lord. Maybe this is why we don't do 6 episodes at once.
Yeah, but this was the special. The watch ones together.
So, while this is all happening... so the following day... Jules and Ian stop... Okay. Napoleon urges Barris to topple Robespierre, but warns him that if he fails to happen, he will deny this meeting ever took place. So Jules and Ian go to try and stop that from happening.
Yep.
But they get there a little too late, because Robespierre gets shot in the mouth, I think.
Yeah, the jaw, they said.
Yeah, so he gets taken away. And I like the fact they mentioned it a couple... This is something I do like.
Yeah.
Is that Barbara's like, we can't change history.
Yeah.
So they think that, they're off to stop his imprisonment, but historically he does get imprisoned.
So there's no point.
So by the time Jules and Ian gets there, it's already begun, and he's been shot in the mouth, and he's taken to the prison.
Can I quickly say, I bet you there's going to be an episode, and you probably already know one, where they do try to change what happens in history, and it leads to a whole problem that the Doctor has to...
there's so many times when that happens.
Time travel and solve... Well, it makes sense. why else have the power to time travel if you're not going to have a problem like that to solve?
Yeah, but I guess it's about knowing which problems you're allowed to solve.
Or unsolve.
Ooh.
Or resolve.
Or a problem that's caused by someone else that you have to fix.
Or desolve.
Or, unwrite some history.
Oh. I like how even the wiki just starts a paragraph with, while this is happening, as if to be like, yeah, all of this happened and then...
So the Doctor gets to the prison, and he outwits the jailer by convincing him that Lemaitre has been captured as a traitor, and the jailer is an associate of his, and will soon be thrown in prison himself. So the Doctor is then lenient on him, and is able to then get... Susan freed. Robespierre is taken into the prison. He's going to be guillotined later. And then we have the wrap-up.
Mm-hmm.
So Sterling's like, I'm off to England. Why don't you guys come with me? And Susan's like, we travel our own way. I did like how earlier when Ian was captured, he was like, yeah, I'm a time traveller. You know that bit where they were like, tell us who you really are, and he's like, I'm from the future.
There's no point in me trying to explain who I am.
And then they're like, oh, we'll just shoot this guy. And then he gets saved.
And I love how Robespierre even eventually says to Barbara, who are you guys really? Like, he knows something weird is up.
And it's probably the first time where they've just been like...
deal with it.
Where do you guys all come from? Like, as in, like, no one's ever really asked where they come from. They leave in a box sometimes, and they're like, oh my gosh, they flew away in a box. But this is like, they're like, why are you actually here?
And this is good because we've discussed, no one had ever questioned up until this point who these random people are, but now they're starting to.
Yeah. Because
it makes no sense that people dressed like how they are there.
And then, let's see, whatever. They're in the box, they fly away, and there's a nice little moment where the Doctor's like, we travel amongst the stars.
As a nice little wrap up to end of season 1.
It is the end of season 1.
What a time.
It was so long. It was so long. It wasn't, well, look, it wasn't long, it was just confusing. I was confused.
I was kind of following it, but I think you're right. There's too many players in the story.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you automatically start with 5 people already. 4
people.
You've already got 4 people there. You can't just start adding another 8 people to a storyline.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of Doctor Who stories... there's stories with lots of characters, but there's normally, like, prominent characters, like, there'll be a few that are, like, you really latch onto, and then there's others that are minor players, but for this one, it felt like there was a lot of major players.
Yeah.
And and some people that I was like, oh yeah, and then they got shot, and I was like, oh, okay,
I guess not.
guess not.
I agree. I was really surprised at the beginning when they first went into that house and started putting those clothes on. I expected the guy who was scared to get shot, but I did not expect the other guy to also get shot.
Yeah, I thought he was going to hang around for a while.
Yeah, that seems like how a normal plot would work out.
There's such a long cast list. Okay, so do we do trivia first, or do we score it first?
Let's score it first.
I'll give you continuity notes first.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Don't look at the screen, because there'll be some continuity that ruins future episodes. So I'll just tell you the ones that
Ooh,
don't.
so we're coming back here to Napoleon. Anyway, no.
So in case you missed it, because I did remember this, but this also refreshed me. The book that Barbara lends Susan in the first episode says the French Revolution.
Like in episode 1.
Yeah, in An Unearthly
Oh,
Child.
that's cool.
Yeah. So the Doctor admits that the TARDIS has suffered 2 faults that we've seen. One is the chameleon circuit not working from the first episode, and how it's always a blue box.
Yep.
And the second is the fast return switch not working, which we've discussed.
Yes. It's an either or. Hey, I could either take you back, to a particular time, or way back to the beginning of time. What would you like?
Barbara remembers her imprisonment in the Cave of Skulls in 100,000 BC from An Unearthly Child.
Yeah,
She does mention that. Barbara claims to have learnt the lesson about meddling in history from Mexico in the 15th century. That's the Aztecs.
Yep.
And this is only one of 3 episodes.
Whatever.
Yeah, that does this.
Yeah.
Where the TARDIS lands without making a sound.
Oh.
So the start of this story arc,
Yeah.
the TARDIS lands in the forest,
Yeah.
but it doesn't actually make its sound.
So is that a production error, or...
I think it's more of a production error. But who knows, maybe it's got a stealth mode or something.
That's only ever been used 3 times. One of them was when there was no one around.
Yeah.
It's pretty stealthy.
So there's your continuity.
Okay.
There's more, but it's like foreshadowing, so we won't worry about that.
I agree.
Do you want to score it, and then I'll give you all the rough trivia? Because it is a thing, man.
Yeah, let's save that, because that sounds fun. Out of 13,
Yep.
there were some nice moments, and I like the way it wrapped up. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 13.
You're going to give it a Colin Baker.
Yeah. A slightly bull...
Oddly, that seems appropriate for this episode. Actually, that's mean. I like Colin Baker, but a lot he's. We'll get to his Doctor because there's some issues with.
He's not one of the favoured ones.
I think at the time Doctor Who was going through a phase.
Oh, and he unfortunately was part of that.
Yeah, I think it was more bad timing as opposed to him being bad at being the Doctor.
Fair enough. Kind of like how you try to convince me that's what happened with Ben Affleck, even though I know he's the reason that was a bad Batman.
I think that was more... What's his name?
Snyder.
I think that was more Snyder than Affleck. And probably Warner Brothers as well.
But did Ben Affleck sign up knowing Snyder was making those films? Then he got what he deserved, didn't he?
Yeah.
Hey, this Poohhead is making a movie. Would you like to be involved?
I think if we
I trust Poohhead.
If we just pivot to being a Batman podcast for a second.
Okay.
I think Affleck signed up for that knowing that he would be able to have his own Batman movie that he would have control over. But then after Batman vs. Superman and after the Justice League, which if you can call that a movie, I think he was like, actually, I'm out of here.
This is bad.
But I think he had...
Stop casting him superheroes. He's ruined 2 of them now, okay?
Are you saying he ruined Daredevil?
Yes. Has there been a Daredevil movie since?
No, but there's been a very good TV series on Netflix.
I know, but what did I ask you?
Well, no.
No.
But I hope that the act... Because apparently, rumour, the actor who plays Daredevil in the Netflix series might be in the next Spider-Man movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he's a lawyer, and so he might be the lawyer for Spider-Man.
That's cool.
Anyway...
I don't care about Marvel.
You said 6 out of 13.
6 out of 13. It was slightly below average for me.
I'm giving it a 5.
Ooh,
Peter Davidson, if you will.
if I will. Well, I don't know who that is, so whatever.
He is the... If you want to be really weird,
Okay.
he's the father...
Don't spoil anything for me.
No, then I won't.
I think I know
It's
where
actually
you're
the
going.
father of... So the
Time?
guy who played the 10th Doctor,
Yeah.
his wife is Peter Davidson's daughter.
Okay. That's weird.
And then in the story, there's something that might make it weirder. So,
Weirder than
yep, okay.
time traveling incest? I don't think so.
That's...
Well, if you marry your own daughter...
No, I mean in real life.
Oh! Oh!
So, Peter Davison has a daughter, Georgia Moffat, I think.
Okay.
And she married David Tennant, who is the 10th Doctor.
I thought you meant in Doctor Who.
No, but there is like in the Doctor Who verse that makes that weird too, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. I have, I think, slightly heard of this, but I don't remember the details, so we'll save it.
Okay, you ready?
I am ready. Should I not be looking in case there's spoilers?
No, this is our trivia section.
Okay.
Okay, so
Fun trivia.
this is not fun. Hungarian director Henrik Hirsch, who was inexperienced in working television,
Oh, good.
had difficulty coping with the cramped Lime Grove studios, because that's where they filmed this,
Yep.
out of order shooting sequences, and William Hartnell's lack of respect for him. As a result, he collapsed during the shooting of the 3rd episode.
Okay.
As Verity Lambert, who is like the producer, and production assistant Timothy Combe both felt unable to run a studio, a short-term replacement for Hirsch was found. Combe believes this to be John Gorey, who directed The Keys of Marinus,
Yeah, they were right.
but Gorey has no memory of doing this.
Oh.
So no additional director is credited on scene.
On screen.
Hirsch recovered in time for the filming of episode 4, with his trouble eased by the production moving to television centre. Combe taking on some of the director's duties, so that's the production assistant pretending to be a director
Taking
sometimes.
on some of his duties.
And Hartnell apparently being more considerate of his manner towards the director.
So Doctor Who really does reflect him. How he has to learn to be more considerate of
It's like,
others.
oh my gosh, I made a guy faint.
Wow.
This is the first Doctor Who story to feature location filming.
Ooh.
So, I think it actually says at the very top. Let me scroll past all that text. The first to show the full-size TARDIS prop materializing. No, that's not it. Oh, it says amongst... So, amongst its most lasting... Oh, no, I can't show you that. You didn't see that.
Not really.
So it talks about the Doctor saying that the French period is his favourite,
Right.
which is something they kind of hold on to.
Okay.
That's not a spoiler, but you know. The first use of an establishing on-screen caption is used in Doctor Who. So the word Paris,
Yep.
first time that a word is put on screen.
To just make sure you know.
Yeah, you know that this is Paris, in case the pictures weren't enough. I've already told you this one, but William Russell was on holiday during the filming of Guests of Madame Guillotine and A Change of Identity. So that's episodes 2 and 3.
Yep.
He was in his own cell.
Yep.
Carolyn Ford recalled that Henrik Hirsch would give no direction during a take, but afterwards would say, "Don't be so maudlin." Do you know what that means?
Nope.
We're about to find out.
Maudlin. Maudlin. Apostrophe?
Self-pityingly or tearfully sentimental.
Well, that is Susan. I mean, you're telling her not to be Susan.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot more here, but I felt like the one where he passed out was...
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you ready? for season 2.
Yes, I am.
Now, I think to finish this season on, I think we should say like our favourite story.
As in story arc?
Story arc.
Yep.
And maybe our favourite moment for each character.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to think
do you need
about
a second to think?
You can go if you know them already.
Okay, so my favourite story,
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my favourite one. I don't know if my out of 13 scoring has reflected that, but I feel like in retrospect it's my favourite one because I think it's kind of classic Doctor Who, and everyone's kind of getting along now, and they work together really well.
Plus,
I don't mind the Sensorites either because
Yeah.
I feel like even though there's a few moments in there where I'm like,
Wow.
what? It's still pretty good. So I'm gonna say the Aztecs. My favourite moment for each character.
Yep.
Our team. I'll leave the Doctor to last.
Okay.
But I'm going to say of Ian beating a Jaguar warrior,
Yes.
even though he's a science teacher.
I feel like you could identify with them. Is that why?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we went back in time, I could definitely beat a Jaguar warrior.
If that guy could, you could. I'm just telling you now. There was nothing fit about that guy whatsoever. There is no way he should have been able to beat that warrior. So you can too. Follow your dreams, kids.
Follow your dreams.
You can do anything.
Barbara, so Jacqueline Hill had some really great acting in those episodes as well.
Yeah.
I still think there's something really weird about her and the fur man that makes me go...
The fur man who loves the shoulders.
And she manages to escape from him. Oh, look, I think probably Barbara being like, oh, we don't need Ian, or Ian's always so protective of us. We'll just go through these vines and get the key. That's probably a good highlight, I think.
Yeah.
For Susan, I think I still have it in my head of her just stabbing that chair with a pair of scissors.
Yes.
I think we mentioned it once before, all those moments where she's alone and has to kind of like get her act together.
Yeah.
She does really well. I think there's just too much of her screaming.
Yeah. But you're right. When she's not with other people and she's forced to defend herself, she's really good.
Yeah. Actually, just to like reflect a bit on Barbara again, if you think of the Keys of Marinus, that episode where she's the only one that sees clearly,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good acting from her in there.
Yeah,
where she's
absolutely.
like, everyone else is like, what are we eating? What are we looking at? Like, I think she does quite a good job in that one.
Absolutely.
The Doctor, I still think there's something about him having that first conversation with the Daleks
Yeah.
that to me is just like iconic. Because, they don't know who each other are yet. And it's kind of like the start of this ongoing thing. And they're like, time travel's not real. And he's like, what are these things that are like rolling around using static electricity to move? I think there's something about their first interaction where they're like interrogating him.
Yeah.
And he's talking to them that's just like, that's so good.
Right.
So those are my favourite moments. And my favourite episode, The Aztecs.
Very good. I agree with a lot of what you said. I also, and I'm not just stealing it because I was thinking it, I also think The Aztecs is my favourite story arc. I also like the Sensorites, and I did really like the one where they go back to the beginning of time.
Oh, the very first one.
The very first one where they're trapped in the cave and all of that that's going on, and the Doctor, you're like, is he going to kill this guy or not?
Yeah, that is an interesting moment.
So I liked that, but I think The Aztecs is the tightest storyline as well.
Yeah.
Favourite moments?
Mm-hmm.
I think for Susan, not necessarily the stabbing, but the image of her just holding the scissors in front of
And her
Ian.
hair was all like
Frizzy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably her best moment because all of her other moments are of her being pathetic and needing help. which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
For Ian, he does have a lot of confrontations with people in the Aztecs.
Yeah, and I also think there's a good moment with him in the Daleks where he's like talking to the Thals and he's like, you guys need to stand up for yourselves.
Yep.
He has that good moment.
Yeah.
He's got the moment where he cuts the bridge out from under the statue soldier.
I will steal that. I love that.
Where
That's
the guy
my favorite moment.
falls to his death.
That's a good Ian moment. That's my favorite Ian moment so far.
Yep.
I will take that. This may or may not shock you, but I think apart from certain moments from the Doctor, I think Barbara is my favourite character.
Yeah.
Because she is the best... She acts the best, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think she has... I think there was a few moments early on where she would go from being... holding it all together to falling apart.
Yeah.
But now she's kind of developed into this, like, strong lead.
Yep.
And... I guess because they are traveling through time and she's a history teacher, she generally has the knowledge to kind of be like, oh, well, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though the Doctor probably knows, he's probably not as forthcoming with information
as she is, for sure. My favourite moment of hers is probably in the Aztecs when she is confronting the guy who's trying to prove that she's not a goddess.
Oh, yeah.
And she says, you're right, I'm not, and what are you going to do about it?
That is good.
I like that.
Oh, I should have remembered that. But now we know. Well, we're discussing our favourite moments anyway. And the other bit that I really liked from her in that episode... I'm sorry, I'm taking a moment.
It's a discussion.
Where her and the Doctor have... that conversation where he gets a bit grumpy and then apologizes, but they have the discussion of like, she's like, I can make this society better because I know what would happen, and he's like, trust me, you can't mess with time.
Yeah.
And they have that conversation.
Yeah.
I think that is quite good too.
That is a good one. A favourite Doctor moment?
Yeah.
I think would be the fact that he goes on holiday in real life, comes back, the trivia says he's more refreshed.
Yep.
And you see that in the episodes where he's a lawyer in the courtroom. And he's very robust and kind of showy-offy.
Yes,
I
think he was quite good as a lawyer. Maybe he will be again.
And I feel like since then he's really hammed up the whole like being quirky as the Doctor.
I think William Hartnell, and there's a documentary that we might watch at some point.
We will.
In a special. I don't think he realised how popular it was going to be, and he probably went on his holidays and was like, oh my gosh, people love this, and he's really into it now.
Yeah.
Because I think his visible enthusiasm for acting on this show kind of increases as the season goes on.
Definitely. I agree. And I love the whole storyline of not just him being a lawyer, but almost being a detective and working out who murdered the person and proving it wasn't Ian. That's all my favourite part of his moment as Doctor Who. So far.
I'm looking at the episode list. There's some that I have watched.
Okay.
So I've seen the Dalek Invasion of Earth.
I assumed you'd watch most things with the Daleks.
I've seen The Chase.
Mm-hmm.
And they're significant episodes, which is why I've watched them.
Right.
So
we have that to look forward to.
You have that to look forward to. It is kind of broken up with... There's a couple of shorter stories at the start, so that should be good too.
Yeah.
All right. You ready to wrap this show up?
Yes, end of season 1.
Yep. If you're listening to this and you do like it, wherever you're listening to it, you should like it. If you're listening to it on a podcast thing, like, rate, review, share.
Comment.
If you're watching it on YouTube, you can click the bell icon and subscribe and all that kind of stuff.
Like it, comment, share it.
Yep.
There's highlights on there. There's video highlights on there.
You can check out Facebook and Twitter and TikTok.
TikTok, sort of. Instagram has more stuff.
Yeah.
TikTok is a lot less stuff.
But basically, if you look at the episode description, there's a link to everything.
There's a link tree that will literally link you to everything we do.
Yep.
And everything we're on.
But until next time...
Yas, Queen.
Get in your box. See ya.
Okay, bye.
What are you doing?
I'm reversing the polarity of my ultrasonic screwdriver's power source.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
I just reversed the polarity. I just reversed the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
He's reversed the polarity. Reverse the polarity of the neutron.
Reverse its polarity.
Reverse the polarity. Reverse